Welcome to Business Elevated, a Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity podcast. We explore the stories and strategies behind Utah's thriving economy. I'm Pete Codella. Mountain America Credit Union has been a cornerstone of Utah's financial growth and community support for nearly a century. What started in Sandy in 1934 has blossomed into a financial powerhouse, serving over 1 million members across multiple states with more than 100 branches. Today, we're honored to speak with Sharlene Wells, Senior Vice President of Public Relations and Organizational Communications at Mountain America Credit Union. Sharlene has had an incredible career journey from Miss America and an ESPN host to a leader in the Department of Defense and now at the helm of communications for one of Utah's most impactful financial institutions. We'll delve into Mountain America's legacy and its impact on local businesses and hear some of Sharlene's valuable insights. Sharlene Wells, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be with you, Pete. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Tell us what you like about being in the state of Utah.
Oh, so many things. I loved coming back. I was back east for a little bit. The views here are just incredible. I can go 30 minutes in almost any direction. I can go up to Big Cottonwood Canyon up on the ridge. I can go up to Little Cottonwood, Snowbird, take the tram up there and take a look around. You can go to, have you been to North Salt Lake, Tunnel Springs Park?
I have not.
Go at sunset and you see the Great Salt Lake. It's beautiful. And it's only like 12 minutes from downtown.
Yeah, beauty in Utah is really unparalleled.
It really is. And you go a few hours south and you're on Mars.
All those red rocks, for sure. Well, your career path, your experience is very diverse and fascinating and fun, from Miss America and ESPN to Department of Defense and now Senior Vice President with Mountain America Credit Union. So how have your experiences prepared you for your current role?
Such a great question. Early on in my career, so starting, I guess, with Miss America, I was in really high pressure situations. Live TV, 120 million people watching. I'm on stage by myself. Very high pressure stuff. But then moving into television where you're under strict deadlines, you are going on air in 10 minutes. It has to be ready. Or you've got to wrap up something really quickly and your producer's talking in the ear, but you've got to be able to finish. And so a lot of high pressure. So by the time I got to the Pentagon and now at Mountain America, I feel like I can prepare for just about anything to be thrown at me. And that comes from, 4 decades of doing some high pressure stuff.
And you were Miss America in 1985, is that right?
Yeah, officially won in September 84, but they always refer to it as, a little bit advanced, so 1985.
Got it. And I think both of us attended BYU and both of us performed with the BYU Young Ambassadors for a little bit.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that. When were you with Young Ambassadors?
So I started at the Y in 88. I was a musical dance theater major, but I served a mission and then did Young Ambassadors in 92, 93, and 94.
Wow. Oh, you did a lot. I just did 1 year. I was way before you, though. 10 years before.
That's awesome.
You know what? That experience honestly taught me everything I needed to know about these high pressure situations because you worked with Randy Booth, but he would put me on the spot and, oh, you're singing this solo now. Oh, I am. Or you're now in charge of PR. Here's a microphone. That's when I learned how to hold a microphone was in the ambassadors.
I love to explain to people that we would do, firesides for church congregations and would go into it not really knowing what the program's going to be. And the music would start playing and you're like, okay, we're doing that song. And then at the end of the song, he'd whisper someone's name and you're like, oh, okay, I'm speaking.
You are so right. Oh, that brings back memories. He did not change that format, did he?
No. Well, back to Mountain America Credit Union, began in the 1930s, almost a century. How has the core principle of finance guidance evolved as you serve your customers, the businesses, and maybe share a few examples from that?
We are so excited to be heading into our 90th year next year. And when we started back in the 1930s, it was especially critical to have a trustworthy financial institution. That was the big aim. We wanted fair loans. We wanted to build savings. So that was the core. And then over the decades, the financial landscape has become more complex. And so Mountain America has evolved to make sure that we have a holistic support system. So it's everything from all the traditional, best competitive rates for loans, for savings, anything that you might imagine. But also we put a huge focus on financial education, financial literacy. And here's one of my favorites possibly is our financial guides. We have free financial guides. People come in for one-on-one support. Maybe they want help building their credit score. They want help saving for home. They want to consolidate debt, bring that down. They want to plan for retirement. We have free financial guides to help access that. So one of the stories, and then I'll tell you a little bit what something else that we're especially excited about is we have really focused on our small business offerings, right? And for over 20 years, we've been the number one SBA credit union lender in the country. We've been the number one overall Utah small business lender for the last 5 years. And we're the number one credit union for business deposits nationwide. So this is something that we put heavy emphasis on. And one of the differentiators that I love, while a lot of financial institutions have small business departments, ours specialize. So we have specialists, experts in SBA loans, in conventional loans, in commercial real estate. And what that does is makes them move through deals faster. So everybody likes things happening faster, smoother. And let me give you an example. We have so many great examples of people that come through our doors and they get this kind of one-on-one help. But one of my favorites is Navina. She was a child from Bulgaria coming here to the United States early on, and she adopted the American dream, wanted to build a small business. And so after she graduated college, she wanted to buy a transportation company, and we helped her out on that. She bought Zio Enterprises. It's a trucking company. She has 60 semis, 60 employees now, over $1 million in annual gross revenue. And one of the biggest things that she loves about Mountain America is how easy we made it for her. The documents, the process, everything smooth, fast. So that's just one of the many examples.
Every May, we have National Small Business Week, and the Utah Small Business Administration team hosts some awards. And I've been there for many years and have seen Mountain America receive the awards for their small business lending. So thank you for your support of Utah entrepreneurs.
Well, small businesses, 370,000 of them in Utah.
Yeah, it drives our economy.
Over 99% of business in Utah is small business. So that's amazing. And so almost 50% of employees work for small businesses. So this is a tremendous focus for us.
Well, some listeners might not understand the difference between a credit union and a bank. You want to talk about what some of those differences are and how Mountain America can bring those benefits to its customers?
Absolutely. And I was one of those people before I started with Mountain America. I was like, it's a financial institution. Well, probably the biggest difference is ownership. So banks are for profit and they answer to shareholders. Credit unions are not for profit financial cooperatives owned by the members. So we serve the people that come through our doors. They own us and we respond to them. And we have an all volunteer board that's democratically elected. What that means is that we can put any profit towards a more competitive rate. We can really make our services better and working on having the right technological tools and resources for our teams, for our team members and our members to be able to really provide the services that they need.
I feel like sometimes a financial institution, a partner like that, you take them for granted when things are going great. And then maybe there's an economic downturn or a pandemic, and it's a lot harder to do business. And then you have to rely on that partnership.
I love that you bring that up because we don't want them to be strangers. We want to know each other so that when there are headwinds, and there usually will be, there's always a time when they need that we're not strangers and that we have built a relationship of trust both ways. And the first thing that we ask them to do is come in and see us and let's figure it out. Gary Beardsley Automotive Group. They had built this business. He was really building a great clientele. And then the owner of the building said they needed to sell the building. So he starts looking for another place, can't find another place, and thinks, oh no, I want to be able to have growth. I think this was during the pandemic, and came to us. He didn't think he could get a loan. We were able to work it out, got the loan. He was able to get the building. So we're constantly looking for ways. We don't look for ways to back out of stuff. We look for ways to partner. How can we make this work for them?
Yeah, that concept of a true financial partner with your customers and clients, that's important. Well, local engagement and networking are important for business growth and I know important for financial institutions from the credit union's perspective. What are some ways that it's impactful for businesses to really leverage that local engagement? What advice would you offer? Because you do a lot of this. I follow you on LinkedIn. You do a lot of this.
You see that, huh? So that's one of my favorite parts of the job, really, is connecting with our communities and just listening. I love being on that side of things where I'm listening and finding out where they need a spotlight, where they need help, and where they need financial education. Again, that's something that we do a lot of, community workshops and seminars. We've really developed our multicultural engagement. And so we're ramping up even more of those interactions, like with Latinos in Action. We had a whole lot of them come over to our corporate building, and we just spent the day with them talking about here's options of what's in your future. So we had a lot of fun with that. We have 55 chamber memberships across our 5-state footprint, which means we really believe in chambers of commerce. So we like to engage with the chambers. That's a great place to network. Small businesses, large businesses. That's a great way to just bounce off of different people, rub the shoulders kind of thing, where you really get different ideas. If you just stay in your own little bubble, you're not going to hear about what's some of the opportunities that are out there. You're not going to really understand some of the trends if you're not doing that.
And I've been an entrepreneur, a business owner, and I know sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you're focused on the business, like getting things done. But sometimes you need to step out. You need to go attend these other events, be in places where other business people are, if for nothing else than to feel some support, from them, from similar experience.
Right. Conferences. I mean, there are conferences all over the place. And you never know what you're going to learn, who you're going to meet, that's going to create some kind of thought bubble that you hadn't anticipated before.
Yeah, and that business development is something that you have to continually do to maintain the business.
You really do. And for small businesses, it's a little bit more challenging, right? Because you're wearing many different hats. You're the CEO and the marketer. And, that does make it hard. But when you do get out and build the business, and especially social media has got to be a component of that, you need to tell your story. And one of my favorite ways, and I'm glad that you saw LinkedIn, one of my favorite ways is putting the spotlight on other groups that we see. I really have that fun of going, how can I use this picture to talk about what they're doing and what they're building? And it just makes it a lot more fun and pleasurable for everybody. Instead of just total bragging, I do some bragging because sometimes we do some fun things.
Sometimes you do accomplish awesome things. It's kind of like the difference between, public relations and advertising. If you're out there just saying why you're so great advertising all the time, people are like, fine. But if you're doing PR and you've got other people talking about experiences or successes with you, then that really helps.
Yes. And that's actually our number one growth channel, is word of mouth. And we treasure that because that means that we're doing something right when they're talking about us to their families and friends, or social, or to the world. We love that.
Well, let's dig back in a little bit to the top SBA lender recognition the credit unions received, I think, for 4 consecutive years. What approaches have been instrumental for the credit union to achieve that kind of success? Is it your team? Is it training that you do? What would you say?
So it's a combination of factors, but it's the heavy emphasis on specializing in that one particular area so that it's not one person who's going to handle a lot of different things. It's the specialist that you're working with so that you can get through that deal a lot faster. So that's one. And then another really big one is the importance that we place on relationships. We don't want them to be strangers, and we are constantly trying to look for ways to stay connected, even when the times are good and they don't need any help. We want to stay connected and keep that relationship going. And one of the things that we've done the last few years, we continue to build branches, brick and mortar, in a digital era when everybody says, oh, everything's on my phone. Why would you need branches? We have found that branches, that's where lives are changed, because people come in, they might just be distraught. I am overextended. I don't know how to get out of this. And they sit down with one of our great team members, either a financial guide, or almost everybody is trained to do this, and they can sit down, they can analyze what their debt is, and they can give them a solution that will save them, that will lower an interest rate and save them every single month. So that's a heavy emphasis for us as well.
Yeah, having a branch in a community and having that physical presence is important. It's reminding me of an experience just last week. I was texting with my wife. She was in a drive-through at our credit union, not Mountain America, but a community one associated with her work. And the line was really long and it was taking a long time and she was running late. And I'm like, why are you going to the bank? That's so old-fashioned and slow. Like, why don't you just use the digital tools?
Yeah, if it's just depositing a check, I'll do it on my phone.
Right. But no, having that community presence is so important.
Because we found that usually it's the people that, well, there's unique circumstances. I had to go into the bank to do an international wire. That was just, I think there's ways around it, but that was just the easiest way to do that. But a lot of times it's just, I don't know what else to do. And so then they can take that complexity out of it and simplify and see how we can make life better for them that they were not expecting. And we wouldn't have been able to do that on the phone necessarily. Sometimes they can, but it's different when you're in person. So yes, we keep building branches.
And I think credit unions usually have like a notary public, and sometimes people have to be in person to do, have documents notarized.
Exactly.
Well, what's the most unique small business you've worked with? What's a company that Mountain America supports that you're like, wow, that's your business?
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Are you familiar with the Other Side Academy?
Yes.
I love them. They own a bunch of different companies, but it's about 250 students, all of whom have been incarcerated, and they're learning the principles of free enterprise, and they're just amazing. I recently moved. They were my movers. They were phenomenal.
I've heard that the Other Side movers are so good. Yes.
They were super, super good. And so we started working with them a few years ago. And, while a lot of financial institutions wouldn't necessarily take a chance on that, we did. That was something that really mattered to us to help with the second chances. And so part of what we did was the financial education. It wasn't just about transaction for us. We wanted to dive in and really teach them how to be financially literate.
Yeah, these are people who've struggled, who've been in prison and are out of prison and need to learn the skills to be successful and be independent.
Yeah, so that is one of my favorites.
Yeah, we've had one of their executives on the podcast before, and I love that they run a donut shop too.
Isn't it just amazing, the different types of companies that they have been so successful? And I can see why. Every single one of those guys there were like 6 of them at my house moving stuff. Every one of them were so professional, the strong handshake, looking at me in the eyes. I was just amazed. And they did a fabulous job taking care of my property.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking for the best place to grow your business? Welcome to Utah, ranked the #1 state for economic outlook 18 years running. Make the move to join global leaders in advanced manufacturing, aerospace and defense, life sciences and healthcare, software and IT, and financial services. With a young, educated workforce, smart tax incentives, and an unmatched quality of life, Utah is where innovation meets opportunity. Learn more at business.utah.gov.
Well, as Mountain America continues to grow, how does the credit union kind of strategically determine what services or communities you should be in to best serve like a growing Utah and a growing Western United States?
We listen. We listen carefully to the demands of our members because, again, they're our owners. For an example, a few years ago, right about when I came on, there was stronger and stronger demand to have all of these important documents in Spanish. So we've been really working hard on getting all those translated. We're almost done. That's a pretty heavy lift, but we want to make sure that any of our members would, if they'd rather see it in Spanish, we want them to be able to see it in Spanish before they sign significant financial documents, right? They need to understand everything. So we really worked hard on that. In fact, we added, just in the last couple of years, we added a position, Director of Multicultural Engagement, specifically to go out into these communities. So every kind of community and every socioeconomic level we're listening to. But that particular one is kind of fun to be, she goes to Boise and listens to what the Swahili population is. There's a big Swahili population in Boise that I learned about. So what is it that they need? Or the Asian population down in Nevada as well as the Hispanic population. And we are very tied into the Mexican consulates in Utah, Arizona, and Nevada, and the Peruvian consulate here in El Salvador. There's just the 3 of them in Utah because we want to know what are the biggest concerns. And of course, there's been a lot of concerns, especially lately with that population. And they want to understand how to protect their money. What if they have to leave the country? So we've been working on all this different advice that we can give them and the help that we give them. And we're always asking them, please come in and talk to us. But we go to the consulate every day. We're there at the consulate and we can provide that kind of support there too. But listening is kind of our biggest one to find out what the demands are and then be able to respond to those demands.
I want to ask you kind of a marketing question. So as we talk, I have a mustache, which I usually don't have. And it's because I'm playing the principal and the cop in Footloose, which is at Hale Center Theater in Sandy. Mountain America, I know, puts its name on lots of things. Talk about that kind of brand recognition and that kind of marketing approach. How does it help the credit union?
We are very careful about how we partner with other brands because we do value our brand. We value the 90 years of building this brand. And so we are very careful about how we partner in order to co-brand. So when you see our name on something, whether it's Hale Center Theater or Centerpoint Theater or the Mountain America Stadium, it used to be the Sun Devil Stadium down in Arizona, or you see the Loveland Living Aquarium, Mountain America Center, any of that, that means that we've already spent a lot of time making sure that these are solid partners. And they are all really great partners. And I'm excited. Hale Center Theater has been one of my favorites because I love going to all their performances. It's always like Broadway level. It is so good there. And we share the same parking lot. Well, we built Mountain America, our headquarters down on 9800 South, and just right on I-15. I mean, like, I think I could throw a snowball onto the highway from there. We're just right there. And when we were building the headquarters and Hale Center Theater was about to build their brand new theater, it just made total sense. Let's let them use our parking lot. So it was a great partnership right from the start. We love the good that they do and the joy that they bring to families all throughout the state.
We're doing some performances in a week or so for foster families in Utah. And I love the fact that there is that outreach and the opportunity for some of these children to see live theater and experience that for the first time.
Oh my gosh, it's game changing, isn't it? When they see that. And these great stories in like 2.5 hours, you condense this great moral story and lessons learned and all about life. And it's so entertaining. Well, I'm excited to see you perform. That's going to be great. Is that a good singing part? I don't know.
Interestingly, that's my strongest skill. And I just sing in the ensemble in this one. Mostly I yell at the high school kids. I'm just mean, which is fun. No dancing in Beaumont. Well, in 2023, you were named Woman of the Year by Utah Business Magazine. I'd like to talk about working as a woman in Utah. And sometimes Utah gets a bad rap for how it treats women in business and gender pay equity and those types of things. Talk with us about your experience and what advice would you give to women working in our state?
I'll tell you something. When I moved back to Utah a few years ago, I had an experience that was a little eye-opening. I was meeting with a mentor of sorts, and I went to his building, and I walked in and saw a big meeting happening in a boardroom, and it was standing room only, and it was a financial type of company, and there was not a single woman in there. And it was so weird because I'd just come from the Pentagon where it's 50-50s. So mixed there, women everywhere. It's just not even something you think about. And so I just thought, oh, that is so odd. There are no women that can be in this? This is weird. And then that same afternoon, I had another meeting for Utah Philanthropy Day. The entire meeting, it was all women. And I thought, okay, well, this seems like Utah. It just felt so weird. But in those 4 years, I got to tell you, I'm seeing some momentum that I'm excited about. And it has to do with some really great initiatives like Susan Madsen's Boulder Way Forward and the Women's Leadership Institute that Pat Jones kicked off with Scott Anderson's support. And now Melanie Jones is running that. And some really great momentum happening there that is just helping, I think, more our next generations that really understand, I got to grab some of these opportunities. And I think the flexibility in today's workplace allows for more flexibility for women that need that. Because I personally had to leave my position with ESPN because I was expecting my third child and I could not keep traveling for days at a time and be a mom. Now, if I were working during the day and then I came home later, that's I think a different scenario. But for me, I did need to step away. But I think there's so much flexibility in today's workplace that we can make it better for both men and women to have work-life balance. So I think we are going to see, I'm really encouraged. I think we are going to see more and more women. In fact, about 6 months ago, I'm in a meeting at work at Mountain America, and we're in a big conference room. And I suddenly thought, something's odd here. What is odd? This was a meeting about operational risk. So really critical stuff for the entire organization. And I thought, something is really odd. What is it? And I started counting 13 of the 16 were women. And I don't know if people were missing, but I just went, wow, this is different from, 5 years ago when I first saw some things. So I'm encouraged. And I think we're heading in the right direction. I don't know how far behind the surveys lag that tell us that we're still in the basement, but I feel good about where we're headed.
Well, for 3 years, I've been involved with the Boulder Way Forward and Dr. Susan Madsen and the Utah Women in Leadership Project, and Women's Leadership Institute's been a great supporter. I think it's funny that the two women with the last name of Jones have led the organization. It's like not related, but seems like a pre-requirement or something.
Yeah, and Melanie asked me to be on the board, so I'm going to be starting there with the Women's Leadership Institute.
I feel like the more we talk about that flexible work and just providing opportunities for people who want the opportunities, I'm not suggesting that all men and all women should work full-time out of the home, but whatever works for you at your phase of life, let's be sure that opportunity is available to you.
Exactly. And I'm not tied in or tapped into gender pay inequities. I just don't know enough about that because I don't walk around comparing what I'm making or what they're making. But I think it is something that should be addressed and just continue to keep our eye on that ball and just see where we are with it.
And the best thing that company leaders can do there is every couple years, just take an analysis of the rank of the employee, the work that they do, and then that equal pay by gender, just review it. One of the things I do as part of my job is help the governor with the One Utah Summit, the Economic Summit. I started working on that event in 2018. And one of the things we bring to the programming for the summit is we try to get equal representation of men and women who are speaking. And a challenge that we've had through the years is the organizations who present the event are all led by men. And so when you are in that situation, you have to work extra hard to share the stage with women.
You do. In fact, that's a very intentional effort to make it balanced. Right now, I'm planning, I'm the chair of the Utah Fraud Prevention Coalition, and I'm planning our second annual conference. And I've noticed that it was, as I'm planning the whole agenda, I went back to my team and I go, guys, there are no women here. And I know that women are involved. So be thinking. So we started adding some more, and I'm really excited about the agenda in October now. But sometimes it's like, why is it we're just going to our usual go-tos? And that's what I think happens. It's just let's just go to the ones that we already know. That's where the quote, the old boys network gets problematic, because if it's just you're working with the people that you know and you don't hang out with others, then that makes it difficult to be able to pull them in. But I'm glad you're working on it because I think it matters. I think it really matters.
Tell us something at Mountain America Credit Union that you're most proud of.
I've never worked in a place where the culture is so intentional. The focus on values, the focus on behaviors, how we treat each other, how we treat the members. It's so intentional that at first when I got here, I was like, I need to focus on my job. It feels like I have a whole second job just focusing on making sure the culture is fine and that we're doing all of our leadership check-ins and every quarter, and we're making sure that everybody has their own, it's called IDPs, their individual development plans. We help people grow and develop intentionally. It's not just by accident. It's not just, well, if you want to be a leader, you get to figure it out. We give them the tools and the resources and the opportunities to be able to become leaders and to grow in the organization. And it's really, there's a reason why we were placed in the top 10 by USA Today in the top workplaces in the country. I think it was the only financial institution in the top 10. We feel like we treat our team members right. They are going to treat our members right.
How many employees does Mountain America Credit Union have?
A little over 3,400. And we keep on growing. In fact, we've been in the Utah Business Fast 50 for the last 5 years. And for a 90-year-old, that's pretty darn good.
Well, final question. Based on your experience, what do you find most rewarding or inspiring about being a part of Utah's business community?
Well, a couple of things. Going back to what we discussed about, I'm seeing some momentum with women and their participation in Utah's economy overall. But second, I would have to say our affinity for collaboration. I do see it a lot. And just the example of the Utah Fraud Prevention Coalition, that's made up of banks, credit unions, and law enforcement. Just looking at the first two, banks and credit unions, working closely together, a lot of people would go, huh? And that's very important to us. We've remained very brand agnostic, and we get together and we talk about how do we prevent fraud and what can we do to create better awareness around fraud prevention for our entire state. And between banks and credit unions, we touch just about everybody in the entire state. I love the collaborative philosophy that we have in Utah. I think we have a focus on disagreeing respectfully. And that doesn't always happen, but I think that's our intent. And that's what we want to do. We want to be that person or that group of people that knows how to disagree respectfully. When I first came to Mountain America, I remember sitting in a meeting. I'd only been here maybe 2-3 weeks. And I was sitting in a meeting and there was a lot of back and forth with some guys. And after a while, I thought, I think they're disagreeing. And I was like, I had just come from the Pentagon where disagreements are pretty obvious. And it took me a while to recognize this disagreement because they were being so respectful that I realized, oh, they're seeing it very differently. They're not just sort of different. They're very different, but they were doing it so well. So I like seeing that.
Reminds me of the Governor's Disagree Better campaign that he had.
It's exactly right. I love that campaign. And I think he exemplified it beautifully. I want it to go national more.
Well, Utah tries to model that, and I know the governor tries to. I'm going to ask you one more question before I let you go. When you're done at Mountain America Credit Union, whenever that is, when you look back on your career and time there, what do you hope your legacy is?
That we built the most trusted brand anywhere in the financial institution. I would love for us to have the most trusted brand reputation possible. If we could have that, then I've really done my job. Fortunately, we have not had much need for crisis PR communications, but as we get bigger, I anticipate more because that just happens. And so we do our very, very best to counter that with so much positive impact in the community, that we really care, that we are authentic about caring about our community. It's not just a transaction. And so that's my highest goal, is that we are trusted. And not just finance, but when, say, for instance, a member of the media comes to me, they trust that I'm going to give them the facts. I'm not going to spin it. I'm going to give you what we have right then, right at the moment. And then we'll keep clarifying and updating as we get the information. So that's the kind of trust that we want to build, that we are trusted partners in the community.
Well, congratulations on all you're accomplishing there, and on your recent marriage too.
Thank you. Yes, it's only been a couple months. It's been awesome. Yes, I got very lucky.
We've been speaking with Sharlene Wells, Senior Vice President of Public Relations and Organizational Communications at Mountain America Credit Union. Thanks for joining us, Sharlene.
Thank you so much, Pete.
Here is a quick update from the Economic Opportunity Office for the week of August 10th, 2025. The Rural Communities Opportunity Grant, RCOG, empowers rural communities to take responsibility for economic development planning and awards recipients up to $600,000. In preparation for the application cycle, GoEO invites anyone to submit an intent to apply. This pre-application leads to a consultation with GoEO outreach managers and grant administrators. The RCOG intent to apply is now open and will close on August 29th, 2025. The official grant application will open on September 15th, 2025. To learn more about any of our updates, please visit business.utah.gov.
Thanks to our office marketing communications team for their work on this episode. You can find and follow us on social media at Business Utah. Please feel free to email us with feedback or episode suggestions at business@utah.gov. The Business Elevated podcast is published by the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. I'm your host, Pete Codella. Thanks for listening.
The views and opinions of podcast guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity or the state of Utah.